Hi. Hi. How are you? Some theaters were. The same as theaters. I don't know. Oh, no, she isn't by him. She's over here. Well, she is. What? Aren't you going to sit in it?
I'll be coming right now.
Lola? Lola? You want to borrow my hat? I got a sheet. Oh, thank you. This one is not here?
Nice.
You want to use that? You want to use that? Come in. That's a big well, nobody's going to sit down.
Too bad.
Sorry.
Just your showing up for this event gives us an indication of the power and the spirit of the person we're going to be honoring today, Eli Nadel. It's a little tricky here, frankly, to speak to everybody that's almost in the round. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, doing fine.
Yes or no? Which I heard a big no over here. Okay. So I need a clone. If anybody can show it, it's going to be hard. I'll try to speak slowly and speak out. But if you're not hearing, just raise your hands, and it'll catch me the next time as I'm trying to reach everybody here. So we're here to honor Eli, and you can see he touched many, many hearts and souls of many people. It's really amazing. Virtually the entire circle is still, we didn't have enough chairs. for everybody. Eli passed away on Saturday morning, and we're not completely clear on the circumstances that caused this to happen. There's no way of knowing. And I just wanted everybody to know that it was a shock for all of us, because Eli was in his prime. He was strong. He was healthy. Everything was fine. And something happened, and we don't know what it was. So I just want to clear that with us all, because in the end, who knows? No matter how far we go, we're trying to understand it. It's a who knows. We don't really know. And I think it's important to know that there's a tendency to look for fault and to look for somebody who's responsible for something, and a tendency to blame, to raise the ire because we're all frustrated. And there's a tendency to look for responsibility, or somebody did something wrong. And in the end, we don't know what happened. And we'll never know. Except it was his time. And we'll speak a little bit about that from a Talmudic point of view. What does it mean, it's my time? So, Eli died one day short of his 79th birthday. And here today, or not here today, Eli's twin brother in Florida, who couldn't come because he didn't have a passport. He didn't think about that. We don't normally carry our passports around with us. And so we tried to get through and get a concession that maybe a 3-day pass or something, but it just didn't want to work. And so we're taping this, or it's the modern age now, so we can actually take the visual and the auditory and pass it on. He's here in that sense. And here as well, Eli's son, Jesse, is here, and we'll have an opportunity to hear from him. Granddaughter Michelle, not here. And Eli's and the younger brother David, not here either. Okay, so we have, of course, Miranda, and Michael. Michael's here, and Miranda's here, and Miranda's sister is Sandra is here, and nephew Mark. Nephew Mark is here, and Lee is here. So we have a representation of folks who were able to come. And in the Jewish setting, when there's a funeral, there's a special piece that's said or sung. It's called El Melei Rachamim, which means the source of all. In fact, what I'm going to do is, I was going to translate it after, but I'll translate it before, and Jess is going to read it to us in Hebrew.
It's in the book, David, if you want people to open it.
Very well.
It's in the booklet. It's in the booklet.
Oh, yeah. Okay. The booklet, I'm not sure which page it is on.
12.
Okay, page 12. And It starts off in English now. I'm going to do it. It'll be a different reading than what you have in your book. And the reading goes something like, source of all, source of everything, that which out of which, in modern terms would say, Big Bang. We're talking to the Big Bang. That which is filled with mercy. And this idea of filled with mercy is that creation needed loving kindness in order for it to survive. So from a Kabbalistic perspective, this isn't the first time around. Dwelling in the heavens height, please bring proper rest beneath the wings of divine providence. Amid the ranks of the holy and the pure, illuminating like the brilliance of the skies, the soul of our beloved Eli, who, by the way, wasn't so sure that there was such a thing as a soul. He wasn't so sure about what this idea of God is all about. So we're going to try to honor that as best we can during this time, which you may consider a very interesting point of departure, because we're celebrating and honoring a being who doesn't want to be called a soul, which is great. He taught me something that I'll bring about the idea of respect. It was a big teaching from Eli. Let's respect one another no matter what our opinions are. Let us be able to open our hearts to one another no matter where we stand on things. And he was very clear on this. So may our souls of our beloved Eli and all blameless souls who went to their eternal place of rest, may that which is the source of mercy shelter all souls beneath its wings eternally, and bind all souls among the living, that they may rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. And you can feel the texture of that idea, that we're all one, that we're merging together, that we're all connected in some wonderful way. That's basically what's going to be said. Jesse, would you come up and read it for us? And for those of you who speak Hebrew, fine, you can come up with your own translation. For those of you who don't speak Hebrew, that's fine, come up with your own interpretation.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. El Malarakamim, Shechem Barakamim, Umatzeh Mechana Vekona, Al Kanfei HaShechina, Ma'alod V'Kedushim, Nurim, V'Zahar, Rakia, Mezrafi, Mizirim, Et Nishmat Eliyahu Ben Gurma, Shalach Le'olvato, Bavor, Shibli Neder, Eten Tzedakah, Ba'ad, Azekarat Nishmato, Began Eden, Tehain, Menuchato, Lakain Ba'al, Harakamim, Yishtirahu, Beseter Bekan Afab, Almal Bamim, the Yitzur Bet Zilur, the Chayim Et Nishmato, Yehu Ni Mahalato, the Yanuach the Shalom, Al Mishkavo, the Nomer Amen.
Amen. going to give anyone the opportunity to speak in a little bit. I think we may have to maybe set it at a certain number of folks because there's so many people here. As much as it would be wonderful to spend all afternoon together, I think we have to keep the number at a certain level. But I would hope that you would consider saying or sharing something that's really important and that opens up a deeper understanding of who this wonderful being was and what you may have learned from him. The Talmud teaches the day on which a great man dies is better than the day on which he was born. It can be compared to two ocean-going ships, one leaving the harbor and the other entering. While everybody was rejoicing over the one that was setting out on her voyage, few seemed to hail with pleasure the one arriving. But surely, people should not rejoice as the ship is leaving the harbor, which is the metaphor of the birth, since they know not what conditions she may meet. She, being the soul, may meet, what seas she may encounter, and what wind she may have to face, that boat of the newborn, whereas everybody ought to rejoice, well, everybody ought to rejoice at the ship that has returned to the harbor for having safely set forth on the ocean and having safely returned. It's a typical Talmudic teaching that usually reverses everything we would think it should be. We do rejoice at birth, and we mourn at death. And one of the great things about computers these days is you can put the whole Talmud on one disk. And then you can search by a keyword, and I put in the keyword for just death, and got 3,700 hits of Talmudic reference to what death is about. And I put in life, and we only got 1,200 hits. So death, according to the Talmudic scholars, is 3 times meaningful and powerful over life. Virtually everything you learn in the Talmudic world is kind of like this. If you want to scratch one side of your face, you reach with the other hand. So the rabbis discussed whether it would be better to be born in this world or not to be born at all. And they argued for 2.5 years on this question. And in the end, they came to the understanding and the agreement, it probably would have been better never to have come. But as long as we're here, we might as well make the most of it. So Eli made the most of it in a really profound way. He touched many, many people, as you can see. And the invitation is for any of you who wish to share, please do so. And at some point, we may have to ring the bell when we have only a few minutes. We haven't set a time, but when we've reached a certain point, I may have to say 1 or 2 more, please. But until then, I'd like to ask you, and would hope that you would come and share some things. One other point, and that has to do with the story of King David, who went to the divine source. King David had a direct connection. And he went to the divine source and wanted to know the day of his death. And the actually the representative for the divine source, is called the angel of death. So he talked to the angel of death and bargained and wanted to know the day of his death, and the angel of death wouldn't give it to him. But the best that he could arrange with the angel of death is, what, give me a hint of when I'm going to die. And the angel of death said, you're going to die on a Sabbath day. Sabbath day in the Jewish world is sundown Friday to sundown Saturday. So the strategy of King David was, you'll never die if you're studying and speaking to the fundamental laws of the Torah. So come sundown Friday, he started learning, and he carried straight through to the end of sundown Saturday. That way he could avoid death. And this kept going till it was time, his time. And the angel of death came along and didn't sit down and try to convince him. It was more a matter of setting the scene. And as the story goes, the way it's taught Talmudically, the angel of death made a racket on the back porch, so to speak, and made a sound in the stairwell. And whatever it was that King David was doing, he was distracted. And in that distraction, he went down and stepped on the broken step of the stairwell. And in that moment, he stopped doing whatever it was he was doing to avoid it, and that's when he died. In other words, it was pretty clear that no matter how hard we try and do whatever we do, at some point we're going to get distracted, and that's going to be the time. So I was last night talking with Miranda and noting that there's three things that the Talmud says we'll never know. One of those things is the strike of a scorpion. You'll never know if you sit and worry about it like I do a lot, because that's not when it's going to happen. It's when you're not ready for it. The second thing we're not ready for, or we don't know, in Talmudic terms, it's the arrival of the Messianic mind, of the Messianic being, that coming, the next coming. And it says we'll never know when the Messianic, and I translate that into Messianic consciousness, which is a different idea here. The Messianic consciousness, when that comes, that means we've hooked up on some level, and we understand something on a deeper level than we understood it before. And that's going to happen if we don't get hit by a major meteor. That's going to happen. And the third thing that we'll never know is the day and time of our death. We just can't predict it, and there's just no way around it for ourselves or for others. So, keeping that thought in mind, I would like to invite those of you who would like to share to come forth, please. And I'm going to start with Jesse and Michael to prepare to come up. And what we'll do is, if you want to speak, we have 4 chairs up here. I'm going to take one of them, but if you want to speak, come up and take one of the chairs, and you'll be the next to speak.
Thanks, David. I'm going to try to hold myself together. And maybe it'll be easier not trying to read through glasses that don't seem to work anymore. I'm very glad you're all here. Shall I shout a little more?
Yes. No. You're good.
Good. These past few days have been one surprise after another. So many things that I thought I knew that I could guess the future are nonsense. And I don't know what to say, but I'll pass on 3 thoughts, which may or may not be coherent. But it's what I'm thinking. The first of all is, you heard David say that due to unusual circumstances, my father's 2 brothers are not here. His sister passed away long ago. And it occurs to me that there's only 2 people here. I'm one. This is my son, Mike, Eli's grandson. We're his only blood relatives here. I'm not sure how unusual that is, but it seems remarkable. It makes me feel like I have a sort of responsibility to represent the extended family that's not here. I don't know why that seems meaningful to me. But it does. The second thing, I look and I see these faces. Someone ordered 100 chairs. There's another 100 people not sitting in a chair. That strikes me as a lot of people. If you told me that before, I would have guessed it's 3/4 the population of San Miguel. It's remarkable to see these many people. And I've spoken to some of you before, earlier today, yesterday. And I have a recurring thought, which again struck me as very unusual. We're talking about 2 different people. I'm thinking about a guy that was my father, who was much younger than I am now, who lived in Miami and worked in a bank. I last lived in his house full-time in 1977, so you can do the math. That's the guy I'm thinking of. But people are coming to me, and they're saying, your father was so this. We loved your father for that. He did something else. He benefited so-and-so. That's a different guy. It just doesn't feel like the guy I remember when I was a kid. And I look at these faces and this multitude, and trust me, it's a multitude. And I'm thinking, and I'm recalling things that I heard last night. I hadn't appreciated it before. He had a home, he had a community, and he had friends. They're right here. Apparently he touched a great many people. I didn't know. I am truly impressed by all the people here that came for a reason. They came because my father meant something to them. When I was asked to speak, I thought I'd tell old remembrances. And I thought better of that, but I'll say one thing. And I think perhaps this will mean something to y'all, because it applies to his days in San Miguel as opposed to his days in my childhood. About, I don't know, when did you move here?
1989.
In 89. In 89, I was living and working in Fort Worth, Texas. I still am. And my parents say they're going to retire. Okay, people do that. They're going to move to Mexico. And I thought, well, I thought about various forms of mental illness. And sure enough, they went and did it. And I don't remember when. I don't remember if it was 6 months later, or a year later, or 3. But we were talking. And likewise, I don't remember if it was face-to-face or on the telephone. I kind of think the telephone. And we're talking about what's happening and what's going on. And he says, I have to go yell at the city for something. And I have to deliver a box of something to some like Bill. And I have to feed orphans or old people. I don't remember. And I need to put stuff in the car. And I need to give so-and-so a ride out to the country. And I need to do something in a playhouse. And I'm doing this, and I have to do that, and I have to do something else tomorrow, and the next day it's some other thing. And I say, Dad, you're flunking retirement. There. I've said my thing. Mike, I think you're next up. One more thing. I've been asked to make a public service announcement. You're all welcome to come up to the house. It's up the road on the left. I presume 90% of you know where it is. The other 10% can follow somebody else. You're all welcome to come and find something to eat and drink and hang around as long as the Spirit takes you. Thank you, everybody. It's been a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you. Beautiful.
I'm Michael, Eli's grandson, and it feels that even though Eli is gone, it is remarkable to think that he isn't just in the other room or around the corner or next door somewhere. It strikes me that somehow he just isn't in this crowd among you. I'm still coming to terms with the fact that never again will he be among you until the afterlife of us all. And this startles me, and it frightens me just a little. But to calm myself down, I remind myself the time I spent with Eli was very precious to me. It seems like every time he arrived to visit the parents or to visit me or any time I visited him, we went to remarkable places and we saw very interesting things. It felt like the times that I met him and Miranda were the times that I got to escape from the drudgery of my normal routine and did something completely remarkable and different. And once again, it startles me to think that maybe this too will not happen as often or as pleasurably as it has in the past. But once again, I have to steel myself and remember that His Spirit lives on. It lives on in all of us. And that whenever we feel the need to do something remarkable or to be interesting or to elevate ourselves to something better than we are currently, we can. We just need to remember what we learned among Him, what He taught us, and what he would have wanted if he were still with us today. That is all.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
My name is Dwayne Eriksman. I'm a trustee and a volunteer coordinator for Feed the Hungry. Feed the Hungry is a local organization, NGO, that provides a balanced, nutritionally balanced hot meal to over 4,000 kids every school day, and conducts an English training speaking program in a neighboring town of Los Ricos. Almost exactly 8 years ago, July 25th, 2005, Eli came to me and said, I would like to volunteer. Thank you. I would like to volunteer to deliver food to Feed the Hungry, one of your kitchens. Coincidentally, we had just opened a new kitchen at a rancho called La Campana. La Campana is about a half hour from here, at that time on a terrible, terrible road. The kitchen was designed to feed 230 hungry, malnourished children every school day. Over the period of 8 years, Eli delivered food every school week, almost without exception. Every year, Feed the Hungry has a banquet, and usually a barbecue, to honor the 150 volunteers who provide some service to Feed the Hungry, whether it's delivering food or teaching English at Los Ricos. This year, as every year, an outstanding driver of the year is selected. This year, it was Eli. And in order to commemorate that, Eli, there is a plaque in the Feed the Hungry Center. And yes, your name is there. It's for everyone to see. Tomorrow, Tuesday, every Tuesday is the delivery day for the drivers to pick up and carry their food consignment to their assigned kitchens. I can imagine tomorrow there will be 230 happy faces rushing to the gate to help Eli unload the food and deliver it from his car. I can also see in those faces and in those eyes tears streaming down their faces. Children saying, "We miss you, Eli. We miss you, we love you, and thank you for caring."
My name is Harold Weicker. I'm a Christian pastor, and specifically I'm an Episcopal priest. 8 years ago, my wife Carol and I came to San Miguel, and I had heard about the prophet Minerva. And I was so keen on meeting this woman who everybody said was so extraordinary in her spiritual vision and her life practice. Minerva invited Carol and I to lunch, and I met Eli. At first, I didn't know what to make of Eli. He was so direct. And he wasn't particularly impressed by the fact that I was a priest And he had this annoying way, which I later came to appreciate deeply, of pounding you with questions. I mean, if this is a rabbinical tradition, surely Eli was one of the best rabbis of all. And as the years went by, and then we developed a little group that met in Minerva and Eli's home.
Miranda.
He uses
We talked about, for several years, we talked about the nature of God. And you can imagine how far that got us. But it was so valuable, because Eli always kept bringing us back to what counted for him, at least. And what counted for him, I came to realize, counted for me an enormous amount. Namely, forget, all of the buzzwords, which you think you understand, and when you use them, you think everybody else understands them. And talk, as he did, from that candid view of spirit that transcended organized religions and transcended buzzwords. Through him and through Minerva, I got developed a deep appreciation. Miranda knows this. I've been doing this Anyway, back to a moment of seriousness. I came to understand, through Miranda particularly, and Eli, who was so patient with this, Reconstructionist Judaism. And I found it to be so exciting. It spoke to my needs spiritually and my intellect, and I just rejoiced that somehow we could join Eli in a spirituality that had really nothing to do with any limitation of religion. This is a rare quality, and to this, and of course to all of Minerva's experiences with Miranda, but to be introduced to the thinking of Rabbi Shachter Shalomi, Rabbi Rami Shapiro, who were dear friends of the Nadels, to hear the wisdom of Rabbi Cooper and Shoshana, it was just an exciting time. So to that one spirit that excites us all, when we can truly let it flow between us, I thank Eli. And I just want to tell you, Eli, how much you've blessed not only my life, but the life of so many people around you because of your tenacious drive to really get down to what counted. And for this, I think we've all been deeply blessed.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Sam Zimmerman, and this is going to be tough. I've only known Eli for 5 short years, but he was a wonderful man. I feel like what I'm going to do this. Anyway, Eli taught with us in the English program out at Los Ricos. And when I first met Eli, I'm the lead teacher for the 5th and 6th grade. And he would say to me, Sam, I can't do this. Why am I doing this? I said, Eli, you're doing a great job working with the children. They love you. He said, but I don't know if they're learning anything from me. And I said, yes, they are. And he would every week for the past 5 years when we'd go out there. And I would remind him, Eli, you know so much more than they know. You're teaching them English. And so the last few years, we were working in small groups. And he was always partnered with Kathy Shear. And Kathy, in their small group, would take the lead. Well, this year, Kathy and her husband had some family obligations and were not able to come down. So I had to partner Eli with somebody else. And so Sylvia is new to our group, and so we were at orientation, and I said to Eli and Sylvia, the two of you must decide who's going to take the lead in your mini group. Eli put his hands on his hips, and he looked at me, and he said, Sam, it's been how many years now? I think I deserve to be the lead. So I said, Eli, go for it. And I gave him the pack of materials. And I said, you're responsible for it. He said, yep, I'm responsible for this. And this was just in the middle of January. And so he took his responsibilities very, very seriously. And on behalf of all of the teachers from Los Ricos, Eli, we're going to miss you very, very much.
Thank you.
Before you begin, David, Sam, please come back. Sam was the first blood donor for Eli.
Wow.
And I was in the room when they brought the packet in, and they had your name on that piece of paper. And I said, Sam, now you have a blood sister. I mean, you have a blood sister. Thank you, Sam.
My name is David Bossman, and this was the only way I could get a seat. Since I'm here, I've known Eli and Miranda for 15 years, or almost 15 years since I've been here, and I feel the shock, devastation that most of you feel. These are two very, very special people. Steve Goldstein and I posted on the civil list on Facebook, and I want to share with you some of the words that keep coming back, the adjective that people use when talking about Eli. I'm just going to mention them as they come to mind. Honest, sharing, caretaker, pillar of the community, bulwark. But the word that keeps coming up most often is the word give. 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 Now, we were talking about failing retirement. I guess a lot of us have failed retirement. I failed Hebrew school, if that's possible. But I still remember, correct me if I'm wrong, the masters over there, the word gimel. Gimel is give. Gimel is give. And that was Eli, always giving. You ask about your father and why there are so many people here, Jesse? It's all about giving. He never took. He was always about giving. Giving to the community, giving to friends, giving to people who he didn't even know, giving to the children and feed the hungry, giving to the Biblioteca Publica. People didn't always like what he said or the way he said it. But you knew that when your father spoke, he had researched, he had investigated, he had checked all the facts, and if his facts were wrong, he was the first one to apologize. We were blessed to have him in this community. We're blessed to have your mother. She's a great, great woman. We love you, Miranda, and I've got your name right.
I'm Beverly Nelson,
And I'm Joseph Dispenza.
and we're dear friends of Miranda and Eli, and I'm going to speak for myself first of all. And many of you know me here as a psychologist, and Joseph and I are co-founders of Life Path Center, and we lead many retreats and that sort of thing. But I've had the privilege of knowing many of you in a couple of ways. I look around here, some of you have been on my couch.
I struggle with dual relationships here in a small community, but I've come to honor it as well. And part of honoring that is having the opportunity to work with people like Miranda and Eli. Miranda, I remember when you came to me with your challenges and ups and downs, and I felt so honored that you would trust me enough to help you through those ups and downs. And I got to know Eli really well through all of this, and Miranda too. And some of us would call him quirky, and some of us would call him eccentric, and some of them would call him downright stubborn. But I called him love, because he was filled with love always. He was so dedicated to you, Miranda, and he was dedicated to always learning something new and always improving himself and trying to do things differently. And I've never known anyone in all my years of being a psychologist that has worked as hard as Eli did to learn more about himself and to learn more about his relationship with Miranda and the world around him. And I honor that in you, Eli, today. He was always there. He always showed up. He always did everything. Sometimes he's reluctant, and he'd yell at me a few times. But he always was there. You remember that, don't you? And up until just a few weeks ago, he was still working on it. And we were still talking about things and challenges. So I feel very honored to be here today, to be in his presence, and I know he's here. I know he's around, and he's probably looking down on all of us and trying to tell us how to do it, and things that we could have improved, right? But I loved him. I loved him as a friend, and I loved him as a client, and he was pure love.
Beverly, as usual, has taken the words right out of my mouth. And,
That's why I went first.
But I would like to add a couple of things, Minerva. One of them is, the thing I admired most about Eli was how very hard he worked on himself. He made at least 2 or 3 retreats with us at Life Path, and he was assiduous at the working on himself. He understood, he seemed to understand that we are, as human beings, a work in progress. We never quite finish that work, you know. And he was very, very good at that also. He was a member of my dream interpretation class for over 10 years. And he always brought very interesting and marvelous dreams to the class. I tried to give the best interpretation I could, but he kept peeling away the onion skins and saying, well, but what about this? And what about this image? And what about that metaphor? And so he got me to think more deeply about not only his dreams, but other people's dreams as well. I was thinking while Rabbi David was talking about the Talmud and about the ships going out and the ships coming in. And when we were sitting with Miranda on Saturday, just Saturday morning, Miranda said, well, let me get Eli's dream book for you, and let's take a look at that. And so I was able to see the last dream that Eli recorded. And I'll share with you right now the opening line. He says in this last dream of about 10 days ago, I have arrived on a sandy beach. So apparently he has made a kind of departure, but more importantly, a very wonderful arrival. So thank you, Eli, for your friendship. Thank you.
Thank you both.
We're going to take two more people. I know there's a lot of you who want to speak. I also know there's a lot of you who are in the sun and standing, and so I think it's just to honor our own bodies. In addition, and it's very important to get to the Kaddish, which is the closing of this process. And I'll explain a little bit of it when we do that. But for two more folks.
I'll be very brief.
Okay.
Don't worry, I won't be gone. I want to say that it's just by chance that I'm in San Miguel today. I came on Saturday, I'm leaving Tuesday. But Eli and Miranda were two of the first people I met 14 or 15 years ago when I came to Mexico. I dropped in on the Saturday study group and I met both of them. Since then, over the years, either in San Miguel, because I keep coming back with a bad penny, bad peso, I've either seen him here occasionally or I've seen him more frequently at the Cervantino Festival in Guanajuato. I want to say that if I don't seem sad, it's because over the years that I've known him, I think Eli had a very good life. He was very practical. He drove the van wherever people needed to go, and he was also very spiritual. I'll always remember how he looked on the invisible bima in the Quito Borrego. So, Miranda, my heart is with you. Thank you.
My name is Barry Shapiro. I've been blessed. I'm honored to have been Miranda and Eli's dear friend for 19 years. I was there with Miranda on Saturday morning. When Nancy, my wife, and I lived in Los Angeles, we were a part of a Reconstructionist synagogue. The rabbi of our synagogue was a dear friend, a woman named Cheryl Lewitt. She recently died just in the last few months, early in her life, and she had just written a book that's going to be published in the next few months about blessings. She wrote a blessing that she called Death is Always Personal. Miranda's asked that I read it. Death is always personal. We filter our pain through the memories of loss, felt and held in the recesses of our hearts, in the fiber of our veins, as tears beget tears, and sighs birth shuddering sighs, we make meaning of tragedy and loss. In small and personal ways, death is always personal. And the personal is our reality, what we know to be real and true. Each of us has our own precious memories, the look of a loving smile, scent of sweet perfume, taste of shared pleasure, the feel of an all-enveloping hug, sound of a well-remembered laugh. Death is always personal. Our personal losses do not isolate us. We share the miracle of being human, comforted by the shared companionship of those around us. When we open our hearts to our own personal memories, we are embraced by community, the community of those who have suffered and lost. One shared sigh, one common cry, one rhythm of release. Communal yearnings link us to each other. Common dreams and connected longings recognize our shared humanity. We are all one. In our pain, in our grief, in our tender suffering, we can take solace and support from the presence of others. The comfort and compassion of living in community, acknowledging death, is always personal. For this I say, I love you, Miranda, and I love Eli.
Thanks, Barry.
Hi, my name is Larry Stode. My wife and I have been in San Miguel. This will be our 14th year. Probably the first night that my partners and I opened El Palacio Chino, my partner Michael said, "Quick, all the Jewish people are in the back." His Erev Rosh Hashanah. And so I went in the back, and that's where I met Eli and Miranda. Now, a couple of things you need to know. Not only was Eli my friend, Eli was my learning partner. For the first years that I was here, he and I had an affinity for questioning everything. And in those days, I'm not quite sure I was any less or any more dumb or mistakenly arrogant. And I let my personal beliefs get the best of me one day, and I walked away from the community. And that week, Eli came to my house, and he said to me, "Larry, don't go. You stay here." Now, I have to tell you, if there were not a Jewish community in San Miguel, my wife and I would not live here. And yet, if that wasn't for Miranda and Eli, it would not have been a community. And in that evolved a closeness and feelings that have caused a large number of positive changes in my life, and I hope in the directions we have taken. I will miss him. I will miss the times we exchanged things. At one point he talked about Jewish fables, Jewish mythology, and I said to him, "Eli, I really believe in that stuff." He never said that again. He was a man who could respect differences of feeling, differences of belief, and I don't think I ever knew him to pass judgment. He was Eli. Okay? And whatever today was, tomorrow would be a better day. And for that, I think the community of San Miguel, after his family, and the Jewish community is lesser today because of the passing of Eli. I am thankful, however, that Miranda is still here and that we can reach out to her with love and consideration in recognizing the loss we have all suffered.
Thank you.
So we have a few things to do as we get near the end of the...
Can't hear you.
Okay, let's start again. There are a few things that need to be done as we close in this part of the process. Kaddish. Those of you who've heard that word or want to know something about what's a Kaddish, in Hebrew, all the words are built on a three-letter base root. And Kadesh, Kaddish, Kaddishin, Kadosh are all part of the same family. So the idea of a Kiddush, for example, you would have been, some of you perhaps, to a Sabbath dinner, Shabbos dinner, and we do Kiddush on wine. We say Kiddush every week. And Kadosh means holiness. And there's a gathering, and something special about our group together here is the holiness of this gathering, whatever that means. Something very special. Kiddushin means marriage. There's something very special in connecting into what it means to be married. It's Kiddushin. Kadosh is the celebration of transition, so to speak. And so what happens in the Jewish world is every time we do Kadosh, it's the bringing together of the process, it's the helping. So in a belief system that that we're not sure that Eli would connect in that tradition, is the idea that there's a period of time where someone who goes over into another reality, a different land, so to speak, there still perhaps needs to be work that's done to bring together all our hearts to help somebody make a transition. And so when we say Kiddush, we want to have the intention of whatever has left undone, whatever maybe his unfinished business. We say a Kadosh to help that person who's in this other realm become one with everything. So I've been thinking that I think what I'd like to do is to say Kadosh a few times. Kaddish 3 times. Excuse me. Say Kaddish 3 times. And because when you do something 3 times, it gets connected with whatever that mystery is, the mystery that we're experiencing. Life is a mystery, and death is an incredible mystery as well. We have no idea of where we're going with that. So, and we have a closing song that we're going to do that Miranda has asked for us to do. So, what page is it on in your booklet? 14. Okay. For the Kaddish. And who knows directions is the east? This is the east? Okay. So, do the best you can. We're going to do the Hebrew of it. It's this way here. And so we're going around the world now to the western wall and past that. And those of you who are accustomed to this, you'll recognize it, and who are not accustomed to this, you've heard this before. It has a melody to it and a strength that's built into it. And so, hold on a moment. So let yourself spend just a moment in silence, remembering some aspect of your relationship with Eli, and imagine him and whatever it is in that mystery that's moving over into this other realm. Imagine that we're supporting that. Feel the presence as best you can. And then we'll begin. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shmei Le'alma Yivrah Hirutei, Yamlik Matusei, Akai Yom Yom Yom, Akai Yom Yisrael, Agav Bizman Karim Amen. Yehei Shmei Avam Barak Olam Olomei Umayim. Yisparach, Yishtzach, Yisparach, Yisparach, Yisnaseh, Yisparach, Yisrael, Yisrael, Shemei, Kushav, Rekihu, Le'elam, Yisrael, Berkasav, Shirasav, Tushbakasav, Nechamasav, Ramaran, Le'almav, Yimru, Amen. Yesh, Lamar, Abba, Min Shemaya, Bahayim, Avenu, Ve'alkol, Yisrael, Yimru, Amen. Osei Shalom Bimrama, Ruya Shalom, Aleinu Ve'alkol Yisrael Bimru, Amen. So hold the silence. Just let yourself let go of whatever else is distracting and feel the presence. Eli, over the years, has driven past this place where we now currently stand thousands of times. One more time. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shnei Rava, Ve'alma Yivrah Hirutei, V'yamlik Maputei, V'chai Yehon, V'yom Echon, V'chayei l'chol beit Yisrael, Ha'agalai b'zman karim v'imnu, Amen. Yehei shmei rabam v'barach v'olam v'olam v'ayim. Yitzvarach v'yishtabach v'yitzvahar v'yitzramam v'yitznaseh, v'yitzhadar v'yitzaveh v'yitzhalal shemei l'kushav v'richu. Eila minko v'erkata v'shirkata, v'shirkata v'nechamata, Yamaran v'yalvar v'yimru, Amen. Yehei shlama rabam yishmaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yalkol Yisrael, Osei shalom v'imrumo, u'yarasei shalom, aleinu v'yalkol Yisrael, v'yimru, Amen. And one more time, we're going to just hold the energy as best you can. Jewish or not, it doesn't matter. Let the heart just open to the spirit of a passing friend. And let us seal it with this Kiddush. This Kaddish, excuse me. Let's seal this with the Kaddish. And then this one last time. Yitkadah, Shmei Rabah, Ve'alma, Yivrach, Yerusei, V'yamrit, Ma'aseh, V'chayikon, V'yom Ekon, V'chayei, V'chol Beit Yisrael, V'agalai, V'zman Karim, V'imnu, Amen. Yehei Shema Rabban Yishmaya, V'ayalem, V'yimru, Amen. Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitzvahar, V'yitzvamah, V'yitznaseh, V'yitzadar, V'yitzaleh, V'yitzhalal, Shemei, V'kushav, V'richu, V'eila minko v'erkata v'shirkata, V'shvachata v'nechamata, Damaram v'yalma v'imru, Amen. Yehei shlama rabbanim shemaya, V'chayim aleinu v'yalkol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. Osei shalom v'imromo, u'yarasei shalom, aleinu v'yalkol Yisrael, v'yalkol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. And I'd like to ask Mary Ann to come up, please. Okay. So please, just a few more minutes.
This is an incredible honor that Miranda has bestowed upon me to lead you in singing a very, very sad and very, very beautiful song that most of us know. The lyrics are in your prayer book on page, I guess what would be 17, For All We Know. I'm just going to give you the pitch to begin with and then start again so we can all sing it together.
And please hold on to the person
Yes,
next to you.
another request
Share
from
a
Miranda. Grab on to somebody next to you, hold their hand, put your arm around them, be together.
Bring it, close the circle back there, that would be great. Anybody come and join back over here? Swing around.
I'll just give you the first 3 words and then we'll start again and do it together. For all we know. Okay. Let's start together. Ready again? For all we know, we may never meet again. Before you go, make this moment sweet again. We won't say goodbye until the last minute. I hold out my hand and my heart will beat it. For all we know, this may only be a dream. We come and go like a ripple on a stream. So love me right now. Tomorrow was made for some. Tomorrow may never come. For all we know. choke up
I want to
good.
thank everybody for coming, and it's heart-opening just in your presence. For the next 3 nights, those of you who could join the Minyan, it's going to, instead of 7 nights, it's just going to be 3 nights here with Miranda, in Miranda's place. And we just need 10 people at least for us to get a Minyan.
Time.
Sorry?
Time.
6:30. That's tonight and the next 2 nights. If you're able to come, it would be great.
Tell the time again.
6:30. Thank you very, very much for coming. It's been just terrific and amazing and to experience. And last thing I'll say is that when I was getting my FM3, I went to Eli and asked for advice. He said, "You can do it by yourself." So I did, and it worked. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Thank you, David.
We're going to extend it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. The prayer books, please give them back.
Please leave the prayer book
Leave the
on
prayer
your
book.
seat, if you will. Thank you.
It's good.